tell me.
I don't know what you're I am going to put this right back on you. You're the lead. I gave instructions on watching.
Okay. If I could ask, I need for you to be ultra honest and call yourself out, and it's like totally okay, okay? I just need to get a base point on something, okay? And please raise your hand like you're proud, but I don't want you to be proud, okay? How many of you did not watch be honest, because we're trying to organize our time. How many of you did not watch the video? Okay, even if it's floundering, put your hand up. Okay, if you kind of watch it, not really. Okay, so I would say that 80% of the class.
Honestly, thank you so much for being honest.
Are you referring to the ones that are in the Crunch's PowerPoint?
Are we referring to the ones that are in the PowerPoint? No,
Yeah, those
no,
are
no.
The-
We're talking
This one
about the
here.
one that was put on announcements. How did you announce it?
It's a video of Sarah speaking. This one. Did you watch it? Okay. You watched it, Nana? Or is it about an hour? About an hour. See, Lana watched it.
Okay, that's okay. Do you mind if we watch it again since so many people didn't?
I'll be honest, I found it and I was like, this doesn't make sense. I've never learned about Crunches. Hold on, let me look.
It's everything.
Oh, this must be shit.
Yeah. There was a lot of short ones, and then there was this long one. So we're trying to find out, and I know you can't.
And watch
It
it.
was the very first one.
Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Too much. Okay. I read your items last night. Thank you for your level of honesty. I really appreciate it. I want you to know that I will be more thoughtful and write new words linear. Okay, I won't here, there, and every. Sometimes, like when I'm writing this, I'm not trying to defend myself. I'm just trying to tell you my thought. When I'm writing on this side, I wonder if that side can see it. So sometimes I go large, and then I'm like, oh, drats, I can't find the eraser. You know what I'm saying? But I will, be more thoughtful in doing that. And then another of them was that you felt that it was, quite a few of you felt that it wasn't right for, if you're late a minute or two, you felt like there should be a grace period. I'm not gonna waver on that one, okay? You know what, this class starts at 6:30, it starts at 7, if you're not here, you know what, expect to get a Swift River. And incidentally, for a couple of you, those will be due, on Monday, okay? I have like 4 or 5 that I should be getting. And the reason why I'm not gonna waver on that, what I said to you about you end up being the scapegoat for everyone else who's late, that is really real. In overtime in a hospital, look at your salary. Just hypothetically say that, just to make it easy, that you make $30. Well, half of $30 is 15. When you're on overtime, you're making $45. That floor is only budgeted for you to make 30. Okay? And so as a result of that, now, if a patient safety issue is at hand, any hospital manager or supervisor or anybody else is going to know safety can escalate and the expenditures can go out of hand. So they would rather pay you $45 and make sure that everyone's safe than not, okay? Because a safety issue can be a lawsuit that can, obviously go high. But just for overtime, for getting report, that's like unacceptable in a hospital, in a facility situation. So that's what we're trying to replicate is, you know what? We've already said, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late, my alarm goes off just like yours, and I pull myself out of bed, and sometimes I don't want to either. But you know what? That's what you do when you get a paycheck. You honor that, and you honor the people that you work with. Okay, so I'm not going to go there. Another thing that was said, what did I share with you this morning?
There's too many things in too many places.
Yeah, okay, and we can't do it it's already out there published. But yes, and I kind of agree, we're going to A lot of you said it was a reoccurring thing that, you know, you have to go to here to find this assignment, that assignment. Then another one is kind of added in there, you know, on the spur of the moment, and that wasn't appreciated. And I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, that's uncool when you have your time planned, you know what you think what you know you're gonna do, and then, you know, you got, so, there was just, again, to kind of add, on the one assignment that was due, I guess it was due on a Friday or something, and then it got put onto a Sunday on Swift River. That was just to get you onto Swift River, feeling comfortable with Swift River. If you had questions, that we could answer them, because then when we go to clinicals, and if the state comes, which will happen, okay, it's just a given, it will happen, then when you come back here, you can go right into the computer lab, go onto Swift River, and start your assignment, not waste time. That was the rationale behind that, to get you forced to get on it, okay? But we're gonna rethink that and have that handled a different way. And then there was another one, a couple of them, the random ones that weren't cohesive, you know, that a lot of people didn't mention. I just figured, you know, we're all, and myself included, I gotta tell you, I mourned losing my summer. And I'm sure you did too. And then all of a sudden, you know, we're back here. And so we're all kind of maybe, you know, have our little beefs about it, you know, so I just took it as that, you know, kind of getting used to the semester. Did you want to add anything?
No, I'm just, you know, things are all over the place because I am not as tech savvy as a lot of you. I have to take ownership of that and learn more, so that's what I'm gonna do. So thank you for all those comments. I'm gonna get some more training on how to place links or stuff in the Canvas so they are in one shell. So I appreciate that. Appreciate all the comments.
Okay, without any further ado, let's go ahead and watch this video. And, you want to start it?
When it's all done, can you log me out?
Yes, I will.
Hi there, so we're going over crutch training. So walking is the manner or way in which you move from place to place with your feet. It is a movement at a regular and fairly slow pace by lifting and setting down each foot in turn, never having both feet off the ground at once. It is the highest level of motor control skill.
Things that happen to your body if you walk every day. The great Greek physician Hippocrates once said, "Walking is a man's best medicine." Well, he hit the nail right on the head with that one. Walking is totally free, easy, requires little effort, and benefits not only your physical, but also your mental well-being. We're about to get into that, and if you stick around till the end of the video, you'll find out what the FIT formula is and how it can help you out big time.
Oh yeah, it's already.
Before
Because
you
you're
grab your
watching
sneakers and head out for your walk, subscribe to our channel and turn on post
Normally you go
notifications
here,
to keep
right?
up with all of our updates.
Thing that will cover that one because it's a Zoom
Brain
recording. They
boosting
didn't do that.
effect.
They had the whole
A
window
study at the
recording.
University of Kansas has revealed how low-impact aerobic exercises, like walking, prevent the early onset of dementia and reduce the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. Over 35 million people around the world suffer from Alzheimer's, and sadly, it's only getting worse. Scientists predict that this number will double in the next 20 years. The good news is that people who are physically active throughout their life are much less prone to this disease than those who have a more sedentary lifestyle. And that's because they have more volume in their hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for verbal memory and learning. Plus, walking improves your overall mental well-being by reducing stress and releasing endorphins. It stimulates not only the production of chemicals responsible for brain health, but also the growth and survival of neural blood vessels and cells. 9. Improved eyesight. Surprising, right? Moving your legs helps your eyes. How in the heck do they have anything to do with each other? Well, first off, Walking can help fight glaucoma by relieving eye pressure. You see, glaucoma develops when too much fluid builds up in the eye, increasing the pressure inside. That pressure, in turn, affects the optic nerve, which results in visual impairment. The Glaucoma Research Foundation recommends walking as one of the best ways to reduce the risk of developing glaucoma and even relieve its symptoms. If you think you're way too young to start worrying about glaucoma, you should know that walking is good for eyesight in general. Both low and high intensity exercise strengthens and stimulates the visual cortex, that part of the brain that processes the images our eyes send to it. So get on the road to improve vision and protect your eyes now from potential problems in the future. 8. Prevention of heart disease. You're probably well aware of the fact that running makes your heart stronger. But according to the American Heart Association, walking is no less effective than running when it comes to the prevention of heart disease and stroke. A daily half-hour walk helps avoid serious problems, like coronary heart disease to name one, by lowering high blood pressure and cholesterol levels and improving blood circulation.
Here's a bread from Europe, and here's one from America. What's the difference?
7. Increased lung volume. Walking is an aerobic exercise, which means that it increases oxygen flow in the bloodstream and helps eliminate toxins and waste. In short, it's great for your lungs. Because of better quality and deeper breathing, some symptoms associated with lung disease can show significant improvement. The stress and medication that lung disease brings with it weaken the immune system of those suffering from it. We all know that spending time outdoors is a great immunity booster, so why wouldn't you start walking every day? 6. Benefits for the pancreas. Believe it or not, walking for exercise is a surprisingly more effective way to prevent diabetes than running is. In a Duke University study, over a 6-month trial period, a group of frequent walkers demonstrated a 6 times greater improvement in glucose tolerance, or blood sugar absorption, than a group of runners. More efficient use of blood sugar allows your pancreas to produce less insulin, giving it a much-needed rest to gather strength. 5. Improved digestion. Just half an hour of walking every day not only lowers the risk of developing colon cancer, but also improves digestion and regulates bowel movements. Good news for those who suffer from chronic constipation. What's even better, walking helps the chances of surviving colon cancer even after it's already been diagnosed. This incredible fact was discovered in a study of over 150,000 men and women, where activity levels were compared with the number of those who got colon cancer and died of it. 4. Toned muscles. Muscle tone and weight loss is also totally achievable through simple walking. In fact, just 10,000 steps a day can be just as effective as a full-blown workout at the gym, especially if you add some intervals or uphill walking. Just remember to use correct form though. Keep your spine straight, bend your elbows at a 90-degree angle, swing your arms, and stabilize your pelvis. Find your optimal pace, but don't break out into a jog. This sort of speed walking is low impact and doesn't require any recovery time, which means no sore muscles to keep you from getting out and walking the next day. Thumbs up if that sounds like something you're game for. 3. Sturdier bones and joints. Walking can provide more joint mobility, prevent the loss of bone density, and even reduce the risk of fractures. The Arthritis Foundation recommends at least 30 minutes of moderate walking a day to reduce pain, stiffness, and inflammation in the joints. Building strong bones will help you prevent osteoporosis and reduce bone loss. 2. Back pain relief. Yet another ailment walking can cure is back pain. This is a real lifesaver for those who experience back pain during more challenging high-impact exercises. Since it's a low-impact activity, it won't cause more pain or discomfort like running or HIIT would. Walking contributes to better blood circulation within the spinal structures, pumping important nutrients into the soft tissues and improving posture and flexibility, both of which are vital for a healthy spine. As you walk, you make your spine more stable and strengthen the muscles that keep your body upright. And hey, with better posture comes a few added inches to your height. Yes, my basketball career will finally take off. No? Fine, I can dream, can't I?
Pizza or salad? Which one do you think I'm having for dinner tonight? Well, it's not this. It's definitely not this.
1. A calmer mind. If mind and body are connected like they say, then this point is right at home on our list. The Journal of Psychiatric Research published the results of a study on 50 individuals suffering from major depression. It showed that walking 30 to 45 minutes a day, 5 days a week, improved their condition significantly. If walking improves depression symptoms in patients with MDD, just imagine how easily it could help us cope with just feeling down or exhausted. Another group of researchers at Iowa State University worked with hundreds of college students, and we all know how stressed this bunch is. Walking changed their mood for the better, even though no one warned them that it could do so. And a joyful walk with a friend or loved one will only enhance that happy effect and improve your mood even more. Bonus, the FIT formula. If you now can't wait to get out there and walk your you-know-what off, hold on for a sec, because you shouldn't try to do too much right away. Keep in mind the FIT formula. It stands for frequency, how often, intensity, how fast, and time, for how long. When you want to level up, change one of those components at a time. Frequency. If, for whatever reasons, you can't go for a walk every single day, do it 3 to 5 times a week. If you can only handle a 5-minute walk, start with that. But do it regularly and gradually add extra minutes to it. Just make it your routine. That's what really matters. Intensity. 2 to 3 miles an hour is a good average intensity. If that's too much for you, set your own optimal pace. A good rule to remember is that you should be able to talk while walking. If you start running out of breath and your heart beats like crazy, you're going too fast. Time. 30 minutes a day should be your goal. You can also count steps to motivate yourself to keep going. A good amount to aim for is 6,000 steps a day. Again, if that's too much, you can get there gradually and start with what you can manage right now. If you still don't feel motivated enough to start walking for your health, try joining a class or find a buddy who also wouldn't mind getting the benefits of walking. Another idea could be to hire a personal trainer. The money you have to pay them is a great motivation for some people. Do you think walking is worth giving a shot? Or maybe you already do it and have success stories to share. We'd love to hear about it in the comments section below. If this video has helped you out at all, hit that like button and send it to all your friends. Subscribe to our channel.
So successful walking needs support of body mass by the lower extremities, production of locomotor rhythm, dynamic balance control of the moving body, propulsion of the body in the intended direction.
When 2 nurses are assisting with ambulation, follow these steps. Put non-skid footwear on the patient. Apply the transfer belt. Place the bed in low position and lock the bed. Assist the patient to dangle at the side of the bed. Each nurse should stand facing the patient on opposite sides of the patient. Brace your feet and knees against him, paying particular attention to any known weakness. Bend from the hips and knees and hold on to the transfer belt. If no belt is available, the nurses grasp each other's arms at the patient's waist. Instruct the patient to place his arms around each of you between the shoulders and waist. Ask the patient to stand as each of you move to an upright position by straightening your legs and hips. Allow the patient to steady himself for a moment. Each nurse stands at the patient's sides, grasping the transfer belt. Slowly guide the patient forward. Observe for signs of fatigue or dizziness. If the patient has an IV pole, one nurse advances the IV pole along the side of the patient by holding the pole with the outside hand. Remind the patient not to use the IV pole for support. When you finish the procedure, remember the universal steps that apply after all procedures. For example, leave the patient in a safe, comfortable position with the call device in easy reach.
Sometimes there are special situations that you will encounter during the procedure. What if the patient becomes dizzy during the transfer? Return the patient to sitting or recumbent position and assess his vital signs. What if the patient has had hip surgery, replacement, or fracture repair? When assisting the patient out of bed, raise the bed to a higher position, allowing the patient to exit the bed without acute hip flexion.
If a fall does occur, do not attempt to prevent the fall by grabbing the person's arms, as this could cause injury. Instead, control the fall.
I have to sit down. We're almost to your bed. Do you think you can make it?
Hold the person next to your body and allow her to slide gently to the floor as you assume a sitting position. This will allow you to protect the person's head.
Somebody help!
Get assistance from the nurse. Do not try to lift the person by yourself. After the patient or resident is safe, be sure to document the events that occurred leading up to, during, and after the fall per your facility's policy.
My dad used to come home drunk every day and hit me. My mom had passed away from
Are you sure you don't? Oh my God.
1970s, golden retrievers had an average lifespan of 16 or 17 years.
fast forward this. Oh wait, after this. Okay.
See the bottom bar? See the bottom bar? The blue line?
Okay. Where's the fast forward? Can I just pull it?
Yeah, you just have to pull it.
Hand
Okay.
aids would include a cane. Or we need to have really good control of the muscles of the body. Now, types of walking aids would include a cane, a walker, and crutches. The purpose of walking aids is to increase the support or base of support, maintain the center of gravity over the supported area, redistribute weight bearing, and decrease in force of an injured or inflamed part or limb. It can compensate for weak muscles, decrease pain, and improve balance. Now the cane, when we walk, we hold the cane in the hand that's opposite to the side that needs support. We want to position the cane slightly to the side, about 2 inches forward. We'll move the cane forward at the same time as we step forward with the affected leg. We want to hold the cane steady in place as we walk forward with the unaffected leg. Now on stairs, we need to hold on to the handrail for support. If only one of the legs is affected, step up with your unaffected leg first. Then step up at the same time with your affected leg and cane. To walk down the stairs, put your cane on the lower step first, then step your affected leg onto the step, followed by your unaffected leg.
Deadline tomorrow, and your computer just crashed. It's switching time to a Chromebook that protects you from security threats online. Switch to built-in virus protection. Switch to Chromebook.
Hey everybody, it's Dr. Joe. Today I'm going to show you how to use a cane on steps. So let's get started. Disclaimer alert, disclaimer alert. So before we start with the steps, I want to talk a little bit about the height of the cane and how you're supposed to hold the cane. So the most important part is the height of the cane. You really want it to be at about your hip bone here on the outside. You want to have a little 20 to 30 degree bend in your elbow, because if it's too much bend, you're going to be having your shoulder up like this, and if it's too straight, you're going to be leaning over into it. So getting that little bend about the height of that hip bone is about where you want it. You also want to hold it on the opposite side of the injured leg. A lot of people want to argue about this, and there's only a few exceptions to the rule. If you have an injury on your opposite shoulder where you can't really put pressure through it, that's understandable. But the reason you hold it on the opposite side is because when you step with that injured leg, you're stepping with the cane. And that's how we walk normally. So I go into a lot more detail about that in my How to Walk with a Cane video. And you can check that out up there. But you want it on the opposite side if you can. So when you're going up steps, make sure that you're really safe doing it. And if you have a rail, always use a rail. And I'm going to show you how to do this on stairs, but I wanted to show you here first so you can see it at a different angle. So my right leg is the injured one. The cane is in my opposite hand. The gold standard of going up and down with an injured leg is go up with your good leg and down with your bad leg. So what you want to do is the cane is always going to follow your bad leg, but if you're going up with the good, the cane and the bad leg stay, and you step up with the good leg, and then both of those come afterwards. So up with that good, bringing the others up. And then when I'm going down, you go down with the bad. So then again, the cane is following that bad side. So down with the bad, and step with the good, down with the bad, step with show you on the stairs, but before we head over to the stairs, I want to thank some of my Patreon supporters. So Steve S., Demish S., Stuart R., Jim L., and Steve A. Thank you so much for your support. Sorry if I didn't pronounce your name right, but I really appreciate it. If you'd like to be a Patreon supporter, make sure to click on the link up there. So let's head on to the stairs. So I always tell people, if there is a rail, hold on to the railing while you're using it, because you want something stable while you're walking. And same concept, go up with the good, down with the bad. So if my right side is the bad side, I'm going to step up with the good, then the cane and the leg follow, up with the good, cane and leg, up with the good, cane and leg. And then coming down with the bad leg. So bad leg and the cane, coming down, coming down. So that was how to use the cane on steps. If you'd like to help support my channel, make sure and click on the link up there. And don't forget to subscribe by clicking down there. And remember, be safe, use that cane if you need it, have fun, and
Now, crutches are devices that are used to reduce weight bearing on one or both legs. They also give support where balance is impaired and strength is inadequate. They must fit properly. Crutch adjustment is key to the clients using crutches safely. So you can see how there's different sizes of crutches depending on how tall the user is.
When I do it, I just say stand
Now, safety first when we're using crutches. So crutches that are too tall or too short can affect balance and also cause back pain. Incorrectly fitted crutches or poor posture can cause a disorder called crutch palsy, in which the nerves under the arm, mostly the radial nerve or the brachial plexus, are temporarily or permanently damaged, causing weakened hand, wrist, and forearm muscles. Now, non-weight bearing versus partial weight bearing. Non-weight bearing, the patient should always stand with a triangular base. For example, the crutches are either in front or behind the weight-bearing leg. Now, partial weight bearing, the crutches and the affected leg are taken forward and put down. The weight is then taken through the crutches and the affected leg, while the unaffected leg is brought through.
Taste is everything. And we believe great taste starts with great ingredients. Like 100% cage-free eggs. Because at Best Foods, we're on the side of food.
Hey everyone, it's Sarah, registered nurse, RN.com, and today we're going to talk about crutches. And as always, when you get done watching this review, you can access the free quiz that will test you on this assistive device. So let's get started. For exams in nursing school, you want to make sure that you are familiar with assistive devices, such as crutches, canes, and walkers. And in our next videos, we will be talking about canes and walkers. So with crutches, what you specifically want to know for exams is how they should properly fit, the different types of gaits you can do with crutches, how a patient should go up and down the stairs with crutches, and how they should get up or sit down in a chair. So first, let's talk about proper fit. What are some things that you need to see in your patient that tells you that those crutches fit them properly? Well, before a patient even starts using crutches, the crutches will have to be adjusted based on the patient's height. And they can be adjusted at the bottom and at the top. And usually on most crutches, there's a height range where you will slide the part of the crutch to meet whatever your patient's height is. Also, there's a hand grip on the crutch that can be adjusted as well. So some things you want to remember is that you want to be looking at the gap between the crutch rest pad and the axilla, the armpit. There should be a gap there. It should be about 2 to 3 fingers width, which ends up being about 1 to 1.5 inches. And the reason you want this gap is because while the patient is using the crutch, they need to be putting all their weight on the hand grips rather than on this crutch rest pad via the axilla area. Because in this area you have nerves, and if they're putting all their weight on that, number one, it's really going to be uncomfortable and hurt, but it's also going to damage those nerves in that area. Also, you want to be looking at the hand grips and where they're lining up on the body. The hand grip should be even with the top of the hip line. So whenever the patient actually uses the hand grips, their elbow will be slightly bent at about 30 degrees. Now let's talk about the different types of gaits while using crutches. And you want to make sure that you really truly understand these different types of gaits that I'm going to go over, because exams love to give you a description of a gait that a patient may be doing while using crutches, and you'll have to identify it. So before a patient even starts ambulating with crutches at first, you want to make sure that they are wearing a gait belt for safety. Also, before they start doing one of these type of gaits, they're going to start in the tripod position. And it looks something like this, and it forms like a triangle, hence looks like a tripod. And this is where the crutches are about 6 inches out diagonally from the feet. So first, let's start out with the point gaits. We have 3 of them. We have the 2-point gait, the 3-point gait, and the 4-point gait. Now, how you can keep these straight is that you need to ask yourself, how many points are on the ground? Hence, how many crutches are on the ground and how many feet are on the ground whenever you're looking at the scenario. Because each crutch counts as a point do the 2 point. We're gonna have 2 points on the ground at a time, whether it's a crutch or a foot. So what does it look like? Well, this is where the patient will move the crutch on the injured side. So we're gonna say it's the right side. So they move the right crutch and they move the left foot together. Then they will move the left crutch on that non-injured side and the right foot together. So you have 2 points. Next is the 4-point gait. And it's a little bit similar to the 2-point gait, but each point is moving separately. Because remember, in 2 point, they were moving together. The right and the left moving together, and then the left and the right moving together. But here with 4 point, they're separate. So the patient will move the right crutch, which is, we'll say, the injured side. Then they'll move the left foot. Then they'll move the left crutch. And then they'll move the right foot. And the last point gait is the 3-point gait. And this is where they move both crutches and the injured leg together at the same time. And then they will move the non-injured leg. And then lastly, we have the 2 swing gaits. And it's either a swing to gait or a swing through gait. And let the names help you. So the swing to gait is where the patient will move both crutches forward. Then they will hence swing or move both legs forward and place them at the placement of where the crutches are located. Now, the swing through is very similar to this. They will move both crutches forward. Then they will move both legs forward, hence swing both legs forward, but they will swing it past the crutch placement. Now let's talk about stairs. How does a patient navigate up and down the stairs while using crutches? Well, you want to keep these 2 straight, and what I mean is which leg is going to go first up the step versus which leg is going to go down the step first. And to remember that, remember good up and bad down. So whenever a patient is going up the stairs, their good leg is going to go first up on the step, followed by the crutches and the bad leg, which will proceed and go up the step. Now whenever they're going down the steps, they're going to move the crutches down onto the step. That'll help provide stability, followed by the bad leg, because the bad leg is going to go down. And then they're going to move the good leg down onto the step. And lastly, we're going to wrap up the lecture and talk about how a patient sits down and gets up while using crutches. To sit in the chair, the patient's going to back up to the chair and fill the chair with the non-injured leg. And when the patient fills the chair with the non-injured leg, they're going to stop and move both crutches over to the injured side for support. Then the patient's going to grip the hand grips and slightly bend the non-injured leg and fill behind them, and then sit in the chair while keeping the injured leg extended. To get up from the chair, the patient is going to take the crutches and put them on the injured side for support. He's going to keep the injured leg extended and push up on the non-injured side and using the hand grips of the crutches. Then he's going to put the crutches in position. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to take the free quiz and to subscribe to our channel for
Now crutch walking on stairs. To begin, place both crutches under the arm of the injured side, holding the inside handle with the thumb. Hold onto the railing with the other hand. When using stairs, remember, up with the good, down with the bad. Again, up with the good, down with the bad. Now to ascend, we want to leave crutches on the same level we're standing. Support weight evenly on the crutch hand and railing. Raise to the higher step, letting the injured foot trail behind. Straighten the uninjured leg and advance the crutches. You start the cycle all over again. To descend or go down, you want to place the crutches on the lower step while extending the injured foot forward. Place the crutches on both sides of the body if no railing is present. Support weight evenly on the crutch hand railing. Move the uninjured foot to the lower step. Narrow steps without a railing might require sitting on each step. Now, walkers come in several varieties. A physical therapist can recommend the type suited for the older adult's particular needs. Some types of walkers would be non-wheeled walkers, which are pickup walkers. Front-wheeled walkers, a tennis ball is cut to fit the back legs to facilitate smooth wheeling. Then there's four-wheeled walkers, rollator walkers, which have a built-in seat and basket for carrying items. The older adult should stand straight and look ahead, not at the floor, with shoulders relaxed. When using a non-wheeled walker, the older adult should place the walker squarely on the floor, about 10 inches from his or her body, and step to it, the weaker leg moving first. Then repeat the process. When using a four-wheeled walker, the adult should propel the walker smoothly along with the speed of gait. The walker should not be pushed too far ahead of the older adult. Rather, he or she should remain within the frame of the walker. The older adult should not stand close to the front bar of the walker, as this is unstable position for the walker. Walkers should never be used on stairs.
Why is Vitafusion America's #1 gummy vitamin brand? Because it fuses massive natural fruit. Hey everyone, it's Sarah, registered nurse, RN.com. And in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to ambulate with a walker. To ambulate with a walker, first the patient's going to get in position and hold on to the hand grips of the walker. First, they will lift and move the walker forward, and then make sure all 4 points of the walker are touching the ground. Then they will move the weak side, put weight on the hands via the hand grips, and then move the strong side. Again, they will lift the walker, move it forward, make sure all 4 points are on the ground. Then they will move the weak side, put weight on the hand grips, and then move the strong side. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos. Hey everyone.
Now, age is just a number.
was packed. I'll never forget, the first question in my LVN State Board was on crutches,
That's
about
it
crutches.
for crutch walking. We will have a opportunity to practice this in the skills lab. So
Okay, any questions on that? Honestly, I remember what that first question, and it was on which foot goes first on crutches on my LVN state boards, which are similar to your PT state boards. And I remember just like having crutches in my hand and thinking, okay, it has to be, you know, my good foot, and then carrying on. And so a lot of this today, why we're doing this, I don't expect you, yeah, you kind of have to know good up, bad down. You have to know that. But I want you to just play with it, because you're going to figure it out. And then as you're doing that, try to get some muscle memory going on it, so that when you have questions like that, that you can think through what it is. You know, at this time, are there any questions? Some people have asked me questions on the study guide, okay? And let me share with the group the ones that I've had, okay? On medications, there are certain what we call side effects that we're expecting. Okay, so if one of the side effects, and this is why you need to know the side effects, because anything outside of those side effects are considered untoward effects or reportable effects. What did your study guide call them? Adverse effects. Okay, so this is how you memorize the side effects, because the list can be lengthy, okay? You just think, okay, GI, just remember nausea, if GI is a big, long strand. You know, look at the neuro ones, and you want to, if it has anything about unbalance, you want to memorize that one. Go through each one and find one, because you know that if you're nauseated, that you could vomit, right? You know that if you're nauseated, you're going to feel malaise. Malaise. I think it's SE, malaise. That you're going to feel like a sense of tiredness, you know, kind of achy all over, okay? So don't memorize all of them. Pick out one that you can see that the others relate to. An adverse effect is something that is sentinel. Okay, sentinel, you'll hear this a lot. A sentinel event is something huge. You go in for surgery to have your right leg amputated, and they amputate your left, only to come out and have to have your right amputated. Or they take out the wrong kidney. Sentinel is something huge. Okay, so something sentinel is an adverse drug. Okay, now I really described over the top just now, okay? But a sentinel event is where the person went into anaphylactic shock, where they where it was just out of the scope. Okay, so let's take Benadryl. That's typically the drug that they'll use in questioning. Benadryl can be given for hives and rash, right? Benadryl can also be given to induce sleep. So if you're giving it for hives and the person gets sleepy, that's a side effect. We were expecting that to happen. It doesn't reach that top level. But what happens if you give Benadryl and the person goes into anaphylactic shock, where they can't breathe and you have to resuscitate them, right? That's a sentinel event. That's an adverse drug reaction. We do not get on the phone and call the physician for side effects. We all know that those are going to happen, that they could happen, and that they don't reach a level that needs an intervention. But over here, when a sentinel event happens, that is an adverse drug reaction. And you'll hear ADR. And that is an adverse drug reaction. Okay, they'll call them ADRs.
So it's asking for the most serious side effect and medication, but
The most serious
Yeah.
side effect. Okay. Yeah, I would say what we're mainly, the most serious, most sentinel side effect that we're watching for is respiratory.
so it'll be considered
Yeah,
respiratory.
anaphylactic, throat closure. That I would answer that. Another question that I have had has been on cough syrup. What should you watch for with cough syrup? Okay, so the first thing, cough syrup can have codeine in it. And if it has codeine in it, then it's a narcotic. When you hear the word narcotic from here on out, I don't want you to think, this is what I want you to think, respirations. Respiration. Someone says narcotics, you're thinking respirations. Why? Because narcotics decrease the respiratory rate. They also decrease the rhythm too. You start breathing more shallow. So it's kind of a double whammy. Well, it's not kind of, it is a double whammy. Okay? So if a cough syrup has codeine in it, you need to watch that person for their respiratory rate. Now just think of how casual most people take cough syrup. How casual. Costco is going to have a sale on NyQuil for flu and that kind of. I plan on buying some. You know what I'm saying? When it goes on sale, the 3 bottles, 1 for day, 2 for nights. You know what I'm saying? Because if Wayne or I get a cold or get sick or get the flu or something, it's nice to get a good night's sleep to kind of get on the other side of it. Okay. So cough syrups are just pretty much in all of our medicine cabinets. So we all think that it's no big deal. But if it has codeine in it, it is a big deal. And incidentally, I just want to share with you, it's okay if narcotics, if you have children in the household, be very careful with narcotics in the household. I did drug and alcohol rehab for adolescents too, and most of their stories rotated around the in-home medicine cabinet with drugs in it. Okay, so just be aware of that. So back to this codeine in cough syrup. So cough syrup is typically when you cough a lot, right, your intercostal muscles start to hurt, you start to feel achy, you need to slow down the cough so you can get a good night's sleep, slow down the cough so you don't feel achy and sick. Okay, when you have codeine in there, it's really going to slow it down. Okay, now that's one thing to think about. The next thing to think about is when you are coughing, it is a involuntary, you're coughing because your mucous membranes are irritated. And usually what they're irritated is oversecretion of the mucus. If you let that mucus go down and not pull it up, it will go down to the bottom, the bases of your lungs, and so what do bugs love? Dark, moist, goopy places. So the bummer about cough syrup that you also have to watch is if the person needs to expectorate. Expectorate means to make a loogie, to throw it up, pull it up, okay? So if they are expectorating, expectorate, that's close enough. Expectorating is when you bring it up. Okay, so incidentally, when you want to get a sputum sample on someone, the best time is in the morning. Okay, before they have, because when you lay flat, you get a lot collected in your lungs, and it's by you getting up walking that kind of cleans out your lungs. I thought that was cool that they had that on there. But anyway, so before a person gets walking, that's when you want them, if you need to get a sputum sample, to get it then. And what you want to tell them is to like really pull it up, pull it into the back of the throat and get it out. You want, and I hate to use this term, but I'm going to, you want that big, thick loogie in there because you want to, when you get a specimen, they're going to swab it, they're going to grow it, and you want to know what's in it. Okay, so that you can get the right medication that kills that bug. Okay, getting back to the cough syrup. So the first thing you want to do is see if there's any narcotics in the cough syrup. You think, when we say narcotics, you think respiratory. Okay, so then you're going to monitor their respiratory rate. And then another thing you're going to think is, okay, this cough syrup, it's going to suppress the cough. That might be good if they're real achy and they need that relief. But you might be doing them a disservice because you're going to suppress that cough and not get it up and out, and it's going to sit in the lungs and cause pneumonia. Okay, so you have to, with trepidation, you have to use cough syrup. This is the thing, that we, like now, antacids, 20 years later, it's an invitation to stomach cancer. So most people don't think that way. Most people just think, oh, I have heartburn. Oh, okay, I've relieved it. Okay, I can overeat again. Okay. And so you're going to be the one that's going to be educating them on this. Okay. Okay, any other questions on the study guide? Those were the two that I got. And those were really good because we didn't cover them in class. Isn't that awesome that those were the ones? Yeah.
It says which interventions should be performed prior to administering the
Oh, digitalis, okay. Oh, yay. Okay, so what we talked about when we do the apical pulse, digitalis we know is going to strengthen that beat, but it's going to slow the rhythm. So if someone has a heart rate at 55, it's going to slow it down to, 50, 45, and that's not cool. Okay? So we're going to take an apical pulse, and remember we said how I handle it? If it's at 60, I'm nervous. I'll go give somebody else's drugs and come back. Because I don't know, was it the digitalis that made it that low from their previous dose and it's still working? Or is it really their heart? Because they already have congestive heart failure, which is a flabby heart. So then if I go and I come back and now it's at 65, I'll go ahead and give it. It's kind of nebulous. And this is, okay, so medicine is a science and it's an art. Is that wild? Okay, so there's some, it's not, everyone thinks, oh, medicine, hard, cold, calculated, empirical, trial test. No, there's this side of it that's like, Whenever you say, I am monitoring this patient, or a nurse says that, what we're really saying, or a physician says that, well, I'll continue monitoring it. What they're really saying is, I'm nervous. I don't know if this is going to go, north or if it's going to go south. So I'm nervous. I'm going to keep be vigilant. And if it starts to go downward, I'm on it. But I'm really hoping that it goes upward. Because why? The body is miraculous. The body's meant to heal itself 9 times out of 10. That's why, at least I feel competent. And in my household, we don't run to the doctor over any little thing. I could tell you stories where, I have one daughter who is kind of more hypochondriac and another one that's not so much. And, I try to work with my one that is, because I feel like my grandson by her is, he's been on too many antibiotics. When you go to the doctor, and well, not you, when the public goes to the doctor and if they don't get something, they feel like they weren't taken care of, that they weren't cured. Typically, that something is a drug. We anticipate needs and we are preventative. And in my book, that prevention means that we try to minimize the drug usage. Okay, so the second intervention for digitalis, okay, I'm thinking that it's apical pulse for, am I running over, Ellie?
I'm sorry, good morning, sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
I just wanted to,
Right on the board?
Yeah, we did the map yesterday and they came,
And-
those
Oh.
janitors do such a good job and they erased
Too good
all
of
the
a
stuff.
job. Yeah, well, feel free, but
Okay.
let's erase this. I think this is an eraser.
So
Okay,
there
good.
was a change in 2 rooms, so I'm gonna add that on here.
What we're doing today, and Ellie, speak up if I get this not as clear as it needs to be. We're going to, each instructor is going to be at a different site. Okay, one is gonna be on the stairs, one is gonna be, in the quad area, and we're gonna have the different tools, and then you guys are gonna not roam, but every half an hour, we're gonna change stations. So you will need to write remember your group, you're going to need to write where you're going when, and you have about, 3 to 5 minutes to get to the next place, okay? So that we can go over all this mobility. Are we gonna go over Hoyer Lift too, Ellie? Okay, we are, okay. Okay, now this is something else, and this is why I wanna say this, okay. Typically, healthcare people are, let me finish. The second intervention for digitalis, and I'm kind of stumped here. Does anyone have a thought on what the second one for digitalis would be? I would probably say that you are going to monitor their heart rate. Okay? And to finish the thought before Ellie came in, when someone says that they're monitoring something or you say it, what you're really saying is, I'm uncomfortable right now. I don't know how this is going, so I'm really gonna keep my eye on it. And do keep your eye on it, okay? Do watch that person intently so that if it because when something starts to go incrementally down, at some point, the person won't be able to compensate anymore and the bottom will drop out. And you wanna catch it before that happens. And then as you're monitoring things, tell your lead person, you know what, Mr. So-and-so in room such and such, this is what's going on, this is where he's at, he's fine right now. I'm keeping a watchful eye on him, but I want you to be aware. Because then you're telling that person, stand on guard for me. And then you'll tell your peers too on the floor. And then that way, if something were to go wrong, and you have to be in there, everyone else, it's not a surprise to them. And it's the same kind of adage, why if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. You're giving them a feel for what's happening on the floor. And since you're a team, yes, you have your own patients, but all of the patients are for that team. And so I would say that would be the second, is that you would monitor the pulse rate very carefully, very cautiously, judiciously, you'd be on top of it, you would be monitoring it. Okay, what else do we, yeah.
What's the first step again?
Apical, a full minute.
So basically we monitor the apical pulse first, and then.
Yeah, you're gonna do it, and then you're gonna do an apical, with your stethoscope, obviously, and you're gonna do that for a full minute. And then you're going to monitor that person and make sure that they stay above 60. Okay, Ellie, explain this.
So I've already explained it to you guys yesterday, so the only change that happened was my room now is gonna be 131, same section still with me, but we're gonna be in room 31. Laura's also gonna be in 131, so we're gonna be in the same room together. We won't have those 5 minutes, to walk in between, but, we'll transition. So once you finish with me, then you go with Laura just right in the same room, just to the next area. And then, Sarah, instead of 145, she's gonna be in 144.
So location one, does that mean section one?
No, so this is their first location, so from 9 to 9:30, they'll be in the first location,
Okay.
and then so forth. And this is the way that they're gonna transition. So section one is gonna start with me, and then they'll go to Laura, and then they'll go to Michelle, and then they'll go to Kim, and then they'll finish with Sarah.
And then, so if section, because we're only gonna have 8 in each place, right? So section 2, if they start here, then they go to 3, they go to 4, okay.
Yeah.
Very good, you guys.
All right, so I'll see you guys
Everyone
later.
see that? So everyone know your section? Okay, cool. So, where were we? Any other questions on the study guide? Everyone, yeah.
No question off topic, but lately I've noticed over the past probably 2 years, instead of like over medicating myself with unnecessary like drugs or any type of prescription, I've gotten into like essential oil before. If I have like a headache, I'll rub a little bit of or just for my temples and lower. Or I'll inhale peppermint or something like that, or it's topical too, so you just put it where it is in your stomach and stay with it.
I want you to know that anything that you can do, essential oils, peppermint, lighting, controlling the temperature, music, gaming for distractions, all of these things that you can do in lieu of medications, thumbs up. I too got introduced with essential oils. Elizabeth was a cranky baby. My daughter-in-law is straight from Mexico City. In fact, my husband and I sponsored her. But anyways, she introduced me to oils, and she said, my mom uses essential oils, and I'm like how I try to be very open-minded. Hey, if it works, let's try it. The worst that's going to happen is it doesn't work, and I'm back where I was, but at least I closed the door, down that hallway. And you know what? It worked with Elizabeth.
I put some lavender on the bottom of my baby's feet at night, and I was like I was breastfeeding, I was like really into that type of stuff. So like she would go to sleep like that.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do anything else. It works.
Yeah, it does. I
And
agree.
doTERRA is the best.
What is the best?
doTERRA brand.
doTERRA.
Is the most potent.
How do you spell doTERRA?
DOTERRA. It's pricey, but it's worth it because it's kind of like, instead of a medicine cabinet or whatever, it comes in a box and you can kind of pick if you want to get like pink pepper, all type of oils, and you blend what you want for what you need at the time. And I love it. For me and my daughter, they have stuff for kids where you can send them to school and you'll put it on their temples and it helps them be more brave or more concentrated.
And then too, you have to think of like the attention that you're giving that child, and as you're putting on, this is to make you braver. If that bully comes up to you, this is what I say to Elizabeth. I don't know how you guys handle it. I say, you know what? It takes a bigger person just to smile and walk away. Just smile. And remember that they're hurting on the inside, and that's why they're trying to be mean to you, is to deflect their anger. And so just smile and walk away. Someone approaches you, just, leave, get out of their presence. And honestly, it seems to work with her. We were talking on the phone, and she takes the bus now. This little second grader on the bus, and there was no place to sit but by the 6th grade boy. Well, Elizabeth went, that's all the only place she could sit, right? And she's like, hi, my name's Elizabeth. I'm 7 years old. How old are you? And the boy didn't respond to her. And I said, well, what did you do then, Elizabeth? She goes, I just sat there. You know, and I was like, thumbs up to you, Elizabeth, you know, that you didn't aggravate it. But anyways, back to, I have a lot of students tell me, my Hispanic students tell me that peppermint is really good. You know what? When they have a GI upset, I started using that, and it works. And the eucalyptus oil and then wasabi is good for clearing the sinuses. Spearmint, okay.
It's good for other stuff too.
Oh, okay, okay, good, yes.
Like my mom uses eucalyptus, but the injection, when there's a, backstory.
Okay, an injection of what now?
Eucalyptus.
Oh, eucalyptus, like an injection? Okay. I personally, you know, if it works, I would be skeptical. I'm skeptical of putting something in my body like that, but, you know, if it's purified and if it, you know, I'm open to it, you know, so that, but, you know, there's a lot of different things. These are distractions for pain that we're talking about. Yeah, Eric? Oh, what's that? Stairs, room 144. Yeah, this says 131. Yes, it does. Okay, so 9 o'clock. Just give me a second here. Okay, it's 8 o'clock right now. Do you guys want to get up and go take a walk?
Yes.
And then we'll come back, and the two groups, we'll at least get one of the vocabulary groups in before the test on Monday. Okay, let's go take a walk. We're gonna be back here, and everyone's gonna walk, especially after seeing those videos, right? Yeah, you can go to the bathroom first, yes. Okay, so it is 8 o'clock, we'll be back at 8:20, and we'll have the first vocabulary. Then another, I would say a fourth of you got where you'd have to go into milliliters. Yeah, you know, like 20 milligrams and 5 milliliters. I would say then the other half got all of those wrong. There were 2 on the last, but that only a fourth only got those 2 wrong. And then the other fourth, they got those 2 wrong plus a couple others, okay? So I was just looking at this test, and the majority of them is the milliliters. Okay, so I'm just giving you a heads up. Make sure you pay attention to that. And any other questions? Yes?
On the study guide, what is the uppercase T and the lowercase T stand for? Oh yeah, we see that a lot, like it's T that's not T. Or like capital G.
Oh, okay, a capital
So there's
G.
also GR.
Okay, that is the apothecary for G. The capital GR is usually grams.
It's grains.
Oh, grains. Okay, it's grains. Okay. And it goes in front of the number, but we haven't. Don't worry about that quite yet. And that's why I stipulated on the study guide. Don't go to the second part of it. Yeah, Eric. No, you're not. I gave them to some of the people. If you want yours, come to my office and I'll give it to you, okay? I mainly just gave it to people that, you know, I felt really would look at it, really learn from it, but everyone else was fine. But if you're, anyone that wants it, I will give it to you. Yes?
I would like it.
Okay, come to my office, and I'm happy to give you a fresh copy of it too, so that you can study from it and utilize that. Yeah.
So it's gonna be, we have a dosage sheet and the test again?
Yeah, you're gonna have your regular, yes. Well, you know what, I haven't totally decided. The pharmacology test has 105 questions, and I don't want you to get test fatigue. So I'm honestly, now I have to make a decision. Thank you very much, Chase, for forcing me into that. I appreciate it, actually. We'll just have the pharmacology test on Monday. It will be it's either 104 or 105 questions, and it's multiple choice. Okay, then on Wednesday, we will have the math test. The math test is going to have abbreviations. I gave those to you. and it's going to have, you know, like up to 10 of dosage calculation, okay? Where we're going with all of this is at some point during the semester, I'm going to give you a dosage calculation test, and you have to get 90% on it, okay? So that's where we're going, okay? We're trying to get everyone's comfort level up to that, okay? Any other thoughts or, yes?
It's just dosages on that, or is it vocabulary as well?
It's gonna be vocabulary, the vocabulary that I gave you the other day, all of that's gonna be on there. And then it's also gonna be dosage calculation. And of that dosage calculation, the majority of them, you have to find the milliliters.
For sure. No
Okay.
apothecary, right?
No apothecary.
Is that gonna be on the last dosage one?
You know, I'm kind of fluid about it. I just wanna see how everyone goes, and if we get everyone up to a certain level where I feel comfortable that they can pass the dosage, you know, if we have time, I'll introduce it. But my thoughts is that, you know, it's so minimal that really all you need to know is the conversions, and it follows everything else. Go ahead.
I don't know if you answered it, but are we allowed to leave our stuff here during the rotations? I don't know if we were allowed to.
Oh, you know what, I will, oh no, because another class comes in.
We can put our stuff in the car.
Yeah, I would do that, This is what, and I blanked out on it, okay? Typically, healthcare professional people are more honest than the average person, okay? Part of it is that we typically start with more integrity. Part of it is that, we've kind of been under more fire than the average person. You know, we've already said no to a lot of things that would have pulled us down. And so we're kind of a little bit, and we've talked about this before, you know that you're a little weird when you compare yourself to your peers. You already know that, right? You're probably the weirdo in your family too. And if you're not, you will be soon, okay? So get ready for that. But we are also a target in the facilities, meaning that people know that we're kind of casual because, let's face it, we're also a little bit more naive because we have put more time into academics and kind of stayed out of those groups of people. We can be seen as more naive, even if we're not, we can be seen that way, okay? And they know that we make a little bit more money than the average person in a hospital. I will tell you, this is one thing I do not like. I do not like this, but this is the way it is. If you want to make money in a facility, you have to be licensed. They really abuse everybody else, in my opinion. They're the first one to get cut. They make the least. They're treated the worst. They have to bow down to the most people. You know what I'm saying? It's not a fun place to be. So, where I'm going with this is just realize when I worked, honestly, I'm the same way. You know, I carry very little. And like, I don't like these pants because I don't have a back pocket to put that in, so then when I lean over, I have to be real super conscientious of it. Where I'm going with this is realize that you're a target. Okay, that other people are watching where you put your stuff. They're watching if you're around, and they will swoop in on it within the hospital, within the facility situation. Okay, case in point. I worked at San Gorgonio. That's where I did labor and delivery. I gotta tell you, we all met in this one room. It was kind of a fishbowl. It had glass windows right there, and we did all of our report and left all of our stuff in the report room. Well, I noticed that this security guard, someone who's supposed to protect us, right? We would finish report, and about 15 minutes later, he would make his rounds. So I noticed just the rhythm of my environment. And then nurses started complaining that they were having stuff taken out of the, and he was the first person I thought of.
Was it him?
Yes, it ended up being him. So just be aware, you know, not that I was super bright, it was just, you know, over the course of a year, I just thought, that's really weird. How can he have such a same schedule? And see, OB is kind of taken usually away from the mainstream of the hospital. Why? Because the ER, the lab, and OR are right close, and they're usually close, and then they like to have ICU, so ICU, because ICU responds to all of the codes, be next to med surg, so they usually put them on the floor that's sandwiched between telemetry and med surg. And so they're a little bit removed, but not too much. And then OB is like on the South 40, because why? We're trying to keep the babies safe, and any suspicious behavior we're all really hyper vigilant to, because stealing babies is a real thing. Okay, it's a real thing. Okay, anyways, yes.
What do you mean like by stuff
Oh, stealing. I didn't want to use that word. Stealing. That you have to, and so I just want to, and it came up, and it's kind of crossed my mind a couple times, and I haven't mentioned it, and I wanted to mention it. So, yes, I would take your stuff. Okay, now, you know, you kind of have to do it discreetly too, so no one sees you opening your trunk, you know what I'm saying? But that's a whole nother subject. Okay, so without any other questions on anything?
Is there like a labor delivery board in Patton, or do they have to go out?
They have to go out.
Is there a lot of people pregnant there?
Well, I'll tell you, it was so weird. I was working at Arrowhead, right? And I'm in, as an instructor, not as a, but I had, because I taught OB also. And it was so weird to see a mother nursing her baby with a guy with a gun right there. You know, it was just weird, you know, I was just like, so, I don't know, you know, but yeah. Because that's where all the prisoners go, is there. And, you know, I don't know what to say, but anyways, enough of that. Any other questions? Yeah.
So like whatever part of the hospital or whatever you work at, you get like orientation for each one?
Yes.
Like and training for
Yes.
each one?
Well, typically, yes, I'll say yes to it. And, okay, now, just, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this either, because I want to, okay, just 2 minutes on this, okay? On that orientation, they're going to tell you everything you need to know. And they're going to give you every policy known to mankind, okay? I know this sounds weird. Take a 3-ring binder and a hole punch to your orientation and punch them and put them in that 3-ring binder, because those are the policies that you are held to. If you go outside of those policies, their insurance will not cover you, okay? And you don't want to be in that position. I can't tell you, and this is what they're going to say. Oh, don't worry about it. You can find them on the computer. You know what? As an administrator, I could never find them on the computer. And I can't tell you how many house supervisors, because everyone knew that I had them in the trunk of my car, would say, Kim, can you go pull this policy for me? I'd run out there and get it, you know, and because that's kind of when things start getting rocky, everyone goes to the policies. Okay. And then you'll have another day where just they'll describe the benefits to you. I'm just going to suffice it to say at this moment, vesting is where if the hospital wants to keep you, that's the cool thing. The facility wants to keep you. Okay, why? Because you have a license, they need you, and it is super expensive for them to train each one of us. So they're going to want to keep you. So then what they're going to do to try to keep you is they're going to say, we're going to vest you in 5 years or 3 years. Typically it's 3 or 5 years they're going to vest you. What that means is, now listen to me, we've already talked that it's a bummer growing old, but it's a bigger bummer growing old without money. So what you're going to do is you are going to, if they say that you can put in, and they'll typically give you a higher percentage rate than they'll give most people in the hospital, because you're the face of the facility that you work at, and they know that. They know you set the culture, they know that, you know, you keep their doors open because it's what you say, how you conduct yourself, how you respond. When Jaco comes in through the door, okay, they know that. So typically they'll give you 3%. It could be 1.5, but typically it's 3%. That means for every 3% you put into the 401k or whatever vehicle they'll use, they'll put half of that in. Vesting means that when you walk out the door with all of the money. Okay, if you walk out the door in 4.5 years, you're just taking your 3%, not their 1.5% that's tagged to it. So you suck it up and you just wait another 6 months or another year, and you don't say a negative word, you control your thoughts, you don't have those negative thoughts about your work environment. You wait until you get to 5 years and you say good riddance. You want to walk out that door with all the money. Okay, because I'm telling you, it's amazing when you get to be my age and not have to worry. I'm not rich, I am not rich. But you know what? I don't have to worry either. And that is kind of, and now I'm kind of going on, soft area here, but I'm gonna go there because I care enough. That is what I was trying to say when I was saying to Veronica, I think it's great that your parents live with you or that you want your parents to live with you. But isn't it gonna be great that you won't have to, you get more options when you get older? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know my mom has a great retirement. She's not wealthy. She's not, but she has a good retirement. She wants exactly where she's at. And like, and she contributes and does her thing, she's really big into certain items that she likes to be a philanthropy to, to give to. And you know what? It's her money. She made it. You know what I'm saying? She's her own person, so she gets to do it. And that's how I want to be. If one of my kids wants to live with me to save money for a down payment or there's a good reason, I'm all there for them. But if it's because they can't manage their life, out the door. Okay? But then, if I'm older and they really want me, and I can help them maybe in some way financially, I might do that. But boy, when I'm tired of it, I want to say, I love you very much, see you later. Okay? I know Wayne got super upset, probably one of the biggest fights. Javier, this is what we were talking about. My husband got really upset with me because I went out and bought a kind of an old folks insurance policy so that I pay, I don't know, I think it's like $600 every quarter. And then, and I'm getting cash value out of it too. That's another subject that we're not going to talk about. But then when I'm older, because I suspect I'll outlive Wayne, and I suspect because of lifestyle, I will outlive probably one of my children, and I suspect the other two, I don't really want to be around them. As adults, they're okay, they're nice, but you know what I'm saying? I don't want their garbage. I don't want them, figure out your own life, make it work, it don't involve me. That's how I feel. I'll be here to help, but I'm not gonna, but anyway, so I'll probably end up living alone. And Wayne's like, well, you don't need to have that policy, just sell this, do that. Well, I'm thinking back in 2008, you couldn't get rid of a house, you couldn't get rid of a car, the economy was so tanked. You couldn't do anything. I said, Wayne, what happens if I end up in a time period like that? I need cash. Well, we'll have enough. I said, no, you don't get it. I might want to go to a place that's $6,000 a month. So what? I get to stay there for 10 months? You know what I'm saying? I want to stay there longer, maybe. So I bought this policy, and he was livid with me. He thought that was a waste of money. But I said, I love you. Guess what? I make a good salary. I'm going for it. And if you want to have one in case you feel like you're going to outlive me, by all means. But I can just see at the end of life, and I'm already preparing for it, right? I bought this policy like 10, 15 years ago. And so you have to plan for yourself is where I'm going, And there's a lot of things that you don't know, but you still have to kind of plan for what did MacArthur say in the reason why we won World War II? Plan for the worst and hope for the best. You know, I thought that that was really a good saying to have. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and let's have our first vocabulary group up here. And that is Denise, Rocky, Veronica, Jacob. Okay, so it will just be the four of you, okay? Okay, and was there someone else in that group? Mohammed, yeah, he's not here. Okay, is that cool? You ready? Thank you, Jacob. Yeah, okay, so come on, the others. Denise, where are you? Rocky, where are you? Veronica, where are you? I'll get my stuff out of here.
Miss Kim, they can just be quick, right?
Yeah, it can be quick. It doesn't have to be, you know, remember, our groups were meant to be 5 minutes. So go ahead and say the words. Do you have your words? Oh, look at you. Okay.
All right, class. I picked 3.
I am going to ask, while you were up there, would you please take off your mask? The pronunciation and these words are that important, or pull them down when you say them.
I picked 3 words from temperature: afebrile, febrile, and pyrexia. Afebrile means not showing feverish symptoms. Pretty base temperature, right around 98.6. Febrile is showing feverish symptoms, starting right at 100 and 0.4. Pyrexia is also the same term as febrile, but it is not a word commonly used in a healthcare setting. You're more likely to see febrile on a patient care sheet rather than pyrexia. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Denise. I'm going to do diaphoresis and diaphoretic. I know it's not the usual, but I thought it was interesting, so I'm going to write it up here so you guys know. Diaphoresis / diaphoretic. And what that is basically it's just a medical term for perspiration or sweating, unnecessary sweating due to a symptom of a disease, or it can be a side effect to a drug. So it's sweating for no apparent reason, but it's not due to a temperature around you or a physical exertion. So it's the underlying medical condition. It would be described as cold and clammy. Its causes can be from menopause or pregnancy, diabetes, hyperthyroidism, infections, and certain cancers. The medicine cause of it can be from insulin, glucotrol, and those are common meds that may cause sweating. So if you're diabetic, low blood sugar can trigger an acute stress response and then producing hormones that cause diaphoresis. Treatment that you can get is Botox, may provide short-term relief, or clinical strength deodorant. I thought it was cool because I go to med spa clinic sometime and I'll get vitamin injections, the vitamin injection IV sometime. And I see people getting it and I'm like, I didn't know you can get Botox to help for stuff like that, but I thought it was pretty cool. And clinical strength deodorant, which is like the secret one. I know they have that brand. And it's really pricey, but people do it. So how to cope with it is to take baths more than usual probably, and to air your feet, wear clothes with certain fabrics, and then apply astringents, and that will probably help solve that issue. So yeah, diaphoresis.
Hi, I'll be talking about pain scale. So I made a little pain. I know you guys seen it at the doctor when you guys go to the doctor. If you guys have kids, I know they always ask the kids how you guys are feeling. So my subject, okay, pain scale. The most common pain scale is 0 to 10, and it's broken down as follows. 0 means you have no pain. 1 to 3 means mild pain. 4 to 7 is considered pain, and 8 and above is severe pain. So how do you cope with pain? How do you make yourself feel better? What makes it better? So one number thing, it can be medication to alleviate the pain. The next one can be as follow. For example, cold or heat compressions, or getting anything to kind of alleviate the pain. Exercise, yoga, or anything like that for the whatever makes you feel better. Like if you like music, exercise, yoga, like I said. Another will be therapy, depending on the type of pain or where is the pain located at, and also taking over-the-counter pain relievers such as ibuprofen, Advil, Tylenol, and so on. So it all depends if it is going to be invasive or non-invasive treatment, but usually when you go to the doctor, they will always kind of take other routes instead of just offering, hardcore medication. So, like I said, exercise, heat or cold compressions on your body to relieve the pain.
Okay, so I'll be doing the pulse presentations, specifically the peripheral pulse, which is the palpation of high pressure wave of blood moving from your heart to your extremities, which is your upper limb and lower limb. So with the upper limb, there are three major pulses that we already went over, which is the carotid pulse, which is on your neck, slightly under your jaw. There's also the brachial pulse, which is on your arm. If you follow your pinky down, it should be located right here. And also the last one that everybody knows of it is the radial pulse, which is on your wrist, slightly under your thumb. And also there, for the lower limb, there is the femoral pulse, which is located on the femoral triangle, which is under your, like between your crotch. And there's also the popliteal pulse, which is behind your knee. For this pulse, you have to use both hands to check it. And there's also the dorsalis pedis, which is the surface of your feet. And lastly, there is the posterior tibial pulse, which is on the side of your feet, slightly above the Achilles heel. So why do we check our pulses and why is it important? Well, because if you have no pulse, you know what that means, right? You're basically dead. Night-night. So, and also we're checking the pulses because to make sure it's within the normal range. So for adults, it's between 60 to 100, and for children, it's between like 80 to 120. And also if there's like abnormalities within the pulse, if it's like beating too fast, too slow, or like just random, it would be called arrhythmia, which occurs when the heart electrical systems are abnormal. And also there's also this thing called intermittent pulse, which is a pulse that occasionally skips a cardiac beat, which is caused by premature atrial and ventricular contractions, and also it could also be caused by the atrial fibrillations, which is when electrical signals in the atria are firing rapidly at the same time. That is it.
Okay, so it is just, we have about 10 minutes before we have to start, so that will give you time to go dispose of your items and then get to your station, okay? Everyone feel good?
No, they get both.
Oh, here, Theo. Theo. You get two instead of one. Two for the price of one.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Oh, you're right here. I was calling your name over there. Yeah, over there. Well, no, I was calling your name over in that part of it. Israel. Tatiana. Here, can we be a little quiet so people can hear us calling out names? Okay, so on your ID card, you guys will notice on the back of them, one has a black dot and one does not. The one with the black dot actually gives you guys access to the bus system. So that one would be like a free bus pass for public transportation bus. Some of the school districts may be doing outings into the community where they would use the bus. So you do want to bring those ID cards with the black dot on the back with you to your school rotation. All right, so now once you guys put your ID cards away, please bring out your blue book for the nursing comprehensive questions in the back. So we want yellow. So it looks like it starts at 99. So once you get that out, we are going to begin on question 91. Question 91. So there aren't so many of the mobility questions. So cross our fingers that this will make for a little bit earlier day. All right, so question 91, to prevent injury, when should the posy jacket not be used? Who knows what a posy jacket is? Not for the Hoyer lift. Now, Posey is a brand that makes all sorts of types of restraints. So what kind of restraint jacket do you guys know of? It would be similar to a straight jacket. Yes. Now this is a jacket you're gonna find in mental health hospitals, not necessarily at nursing homes or regular hospitals. Even at Canyon Springs, they don't really use that too often because developmental disabilities, there is one type, if I remember right, the condition is called, I think it's Tay-Sachs, where you guys will learn in your developmental, which one was it? The syndromes on your guys' syllabus. Tay-Sachs, if I'm remembering, that's the right one. It's where the patients tend to self-harm. So sometimes they will use mittens to prevent them from hurting themselves. Sometimes they will have to use the Posey jacket to prevent the arms. They will even go as far as biting chunks out of their own flesh. So they may need to use that one. So that would pretty much be the only developmental disability where they would use a Posey jacket or a straight jacket. Straight jacket's what we use as layman's term for the streets. When you guys are using it as a professional word, Posey jacket. That's the official word you guys want to use professionally. So to prevent injury, when should a Posey jacket not be used? The Posey jacket should not be used when the client is in bed. Prior to moving an immobile patient up in bed, in what position should the bed be placed? We want it at the lowest when we leave the patient unattended. So we want the bed to be positioned at hip height. Now, what about the head of the bed? Are we gonna have the patient sitting up tall in what we call high Fowlers? We're gonna lay the head of the bed flat. So we're gonna have the head of the bed flat and the bed positioned at hip height. What do we do if we have a tall person and a short person that are both scooting the patient up into bed? You're gonna go somewhere in between the two. So the tall person will compromise by bending over a little bit. The short person will compromise by standing taller a little bit. What is the main reason that a psych tech performs range of motion exercises on a client who is immobile in bed due to a neurological impairment?
Stimulate the muscle? Prevent sore?
Not to prevent bed sores, but what happens when a person does not use their range of motion? There's atrophy, but then there's also shortening of the ligaments. Shortening of the muscle, tensing of the muscles. So when that happens and the ligaments actually shorten, what will happen is first the fingers will curl, the hands can curl, the arms can curl, and then they're stuck this way. So it is when they curl and they freeze, that's called contractures. When there's a shortening of the angle of the joint and they become frozen. How can we treat contractures?
Isn't it to have like the little towel thing for the hand?
Well, the towel things help prevent contractures, yes, to prevent, but how, once a contracture is formed, how can we treat it? Did I hear it back there somewhere? Surgery. Surgery is the only way to treat it. They have to actually cut the ligaments and extend the joint. So I said something earlier to one of the groups about a word, a P word. How do we treat pressure ulcers? What's the best thing we can do for the client? Is to prevent. I heard it somewhere back there. The biggest thing we want to do is prevent these contractures from happening. So how do we do that? Range of motion, extending and flexing, extending and flexing. We put the towels in the hands to prevent them from curling up, and it helps extend the fingers. Did I hit it all? Where's the answer? Did I get it? Okay. What are some collaborative nursing interventions and principles to remember when providing care to the clients who are immobile and confined to a bed? So think of the word collaborative. Collaborative, does that mean one person? No. When we think of a collaboration in a song, it's not just one artist, it's multiple artists. So it's not just you as the psych tech, but we also got to think of dietary, physical therapy, occupational therapy. So some collaborative things that we do is regular exercise. So that would be taken care of in physical therapy. When we go to the nursing homes, you guys are going to see there's a whole physical therapy room, like a little gym, where they work on the patient's exercising and mobility. We also need to make sure that we turn them frequently to save their skin. We're going to talk about turning and saving their skin in a lot more detail when we do wound care, which is the last Friday before we go to the clinical sites.
But for wound care, what we want to do is change position of the body every 2 hours. So when you guys are watching TV in bed at home, and you're watching, doesn't your back kind of get uncomfortable after a while? What do? We shift our body weight. Then that starts to get uncomfortable. We shift again to the other side. So that is our body saying, hey, we're uncomfortable because the skin is getting pinched. So we want to maintain our skin integrity as best as we can. Which of the following actions is best? So when we think is best, we want one answer, right? The best answer. Which of the following actions is best to take by the psych tech when performing passive range of motion to a client's joints? Anyone have any ideas? Which one? So complete extension, this one says the nurse or therapist helps move the client's joints. So there's a difference between passive range of motion and active range of motion. So active range of motion is where the client can move the joints on their own. Passive range of motions is where you're the one doing the work for the client. So it's where we help the patient move the joints and help position them in various body positions. We skipped number 95, so we'll get back to that one. In observing the principles of proper body mechanics, what should the psych tech do to prevent injury when carrying a heavy item?
Hold it close.
So you want to hold the item close, keep everything tight to the core. What about when you pick it up from the floor?
You gotta squat down.
So don't bend at the waist. We want to squat down and pick it up with our legs. Our leg muscles are much, much bigger than our back muscles. So pick up things using our legs and to hold it tight close to the core. So if anybody has ever gone to like a Oktoberfest, party of my people, they have like a competition, and it is to hold a beer stein out. And you have like a whole row of people holding this beer stein out. Is it much harder to hold the beer stein here, or is it harder to hold the beer stein here?
Extended.
Extended, because that's further away from our core. So proper body mechanics, keep it tight in the core. That's why this is a challenge. And then you'll slowly see the arms drop, 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 and then they chug it. It's fun. All right, number 97. While lying in dorsal recumbent position, the client's legs externally rotate. In order to prevent this, the psych tech will use which of the following devices? Which one? So a footboard helps prevent what they call foot drop. Now, how do you stop them from rolling outward? It's simpler than that. A pillow or a towel to keep the legs from rolling.
The trochanter roll.
Trochanter roll or pillows. So trochanter roll, you guys can make really easily by just rolling up a towel and putting it on the sides so the hips don't rotate out. Trochanter.
That's what the condition's called?
No, that's the trochanter. And what the trochanter is, you guys are gonna learn in injections, is, you know how our hip has that ball and socket joint? The trochanter is that ball that sits in there. That's the name of it. So when you do a trochanter roll, we're not patting the feet, we're actually patting the hips from not externally rotating. A client is having difficulty breathing. Which position should be used to make breathing easier for the patient? Sitting up at a 45-degree angles, but let's put that into a medical position term. There's two terms that we can actually use for this. So Fowlers. Now Fowlers can have low Fowlers, semi-Fowlers, or high Fowlers. Which position do you think it would be? Now, if they're sleeping, it might be semi-Fowlers. If they're having a really hard time breathing, high Fowlers. Now, there's also another name, and this one's a long one, so I'm first going to say it and then I'm going to spell it. It's called orthopnic position. So let's write it out on the board real quick because this is one of those medical terminology things. So orthopnic. So this PN is going to give you an idea about breathing. So when we are talking and describing breathing, when we talk about respirations on vital signs, we can have fast breathing, and slow breathing. Fast breathing and slow breathing. So tachy means fast, Brady means slow, PN is talking about breathing. Same with the heartbeat. So tachy is fast, Brady is slow, cardia means the heart. So this is kind of basic medical terminology. Now the more you learn the medical terminology now, the easier summer is going to be, straight up.
The word, that word doesn't have a C right there between the E and the I.
Which one?
Orthopnic.
O-R-T-H-O.
T-N-E-I-C.
So it says CIC is C.
No.
T-N-E-I-C.
Yeah.
There we go. So orthopnic means that the patient is sitting up straight. Now, ortho it talks about our bones, right? We know of like ortho as far as like a bone doctor because they're straightening the bones. What about orthodontist when we go get braces? They're straightening our teeth. So what orthopnic means in this is that the patient is sitting straight up in order to breathe. That's how it's kind of translated. So keep in mind when you guys are going through this program, there's going to be a lot of medical terminology. You want to know the medical terminology because when you guys go to take the test, it's going to be on there. So let's say you were taking your board's test in Spanish and you didn't know how to speak Spanish. You didn't know how to read Spanish. That test is going to be a lot harder for you. Same with medical terminology. If you don't know the medical terminology, it's like a foreign language. If you don't know what those words mean, that test is going to be harder for you. Okay, let's move on. Number 99. Which are some instructions that the nurse should include in discharge teaching for a client who will be using crutches? So there's basic instructions, yes, how to safely use the crutches with a fast walking gait. Now what did we do with our measurements? 2 fingers from the armpit, but are we supporting ourselves on those crutches with our armpits? No. What are we supporting ourselves on? The hands and arms. So that is one thing we want to emphasize to the patients that we're teaching. That weight bearing is on the arms and the hands, not on the armpits. What happens if we put too much weight on our armpits?
You can damage the nerves.
You can damage the nerves. By damaging the nerves, you can have numbness and tingling for the rest of their lives if they damage them hard enough. They may also have issues with their motor, so their fingers may not work, their arms may not work properly. So we want their arms to do the work, not their armpits. How should the psych tech describe the instructions for walking with crutches using a swing-through gait? Where was your weight?
Oh, the weight's on the good leg.
So the weight is on the good leg. Go ahead and write that down.
I was just trying to comprehend the question.
It's okay. Where do we put the crutches?
In front.
Are they equal or are they off-sided?
Off-sided.
No, there you go.
Equal. We place the crutches on the ground. And what do we do?
Swing through.
Whee! Swing through. Now when you swing through, do you swing to the level of the crutches or slightly past?
Can you not do both?
Slightly past. What are some body mechanics principles to observe when assisting a client to transfer from the bed to the chair? So this is the one that I did with you guys. What did we do? What did we do with our bodies?
Spread our legs.
We want to have a wide base that we're standing on. We want to keep our assistance to our core. We want to ask the client to help us push off of the bed or the chair. Now, what about when we got the client into the chair? That's getting up out of the chair. Shuffle, but what am I doing right here? Pivot. So always think of, if you guys are Friends fans, where they're trying to shove the couch up the stairs, and Ross is yelling, pivot, pivot. Some of them are Friends fans. Now, when we're sitting the client down into the chair, we're going to ask the client to use the hands, the sides of the chair to sit back down. So the psych tech is transferring a client from the bed to the wheelchair. How should the psych tech position the wheelchair in relation to the bed? Ooh, something stuck real good. So we want it 90 degrees to the bed, the foot of the bed or the head of the bed. What happens if we put it on the foot? We're trapped. Don't ever get trapped. You always want your exit plan. I do the same thing on airplanes. It's a little paranoid, but I always find the first emergency exit. If I have the choice, I prefer me in the exit aisle row versus anyone else. Because has anybody been like in an emergency situation? What happens? You start shaking and your mind goes crazy and you're not thinking about, how do I get out? I know how I react under emergency stress. I don't know how the Instagram model acts under emergency stress. So I always prefer me to be in the exit aisle row because I know I'm going to get that door open as quick as possible. Matter of fact, I already know how to open up the door. I don't even need to read the manual. Mm-hmm. What number, 93?
Did you ask something? I asked if she's
Oh, it was
flying.
Chase. Hmm?
I said, are you flying to Vegas?
No. Because I also have trust issues and I would prefer to have a car. In case something happens, I can leave right away. Sure thing. Car stays on full. You can look at my gas tank right now. It's full. Yeah. I also carry my passport with me everywhere. Yeah. Because if something happens, I don't have to go home to get my passport. I'm on a plane and I'm gone. Sure am. The first out-of-country plane ride, don't care what country I land in. Bye. Uh-huh. I'm not crazy. I'm kind of crazy. Yeah, you never know. You never know. Like, I honestly have had friends get shot at the 91 in Vegas and didn't make it, you know? So it's like, you never know. You need to know, like, your exit plan at any situation. So, call me crazy. Not my fault. I'm gonna be the one to live. Although zombie apocalypse, it's complete opposite. Just, I'm finding a Ferrari, wrapping it around a tree, and that's it. Like, I'm not gonna fight zombies. Anyways, back to this. A client who has been in bed for several days is to be ambulated. Ambulated means walked for the first time. How should the psych tech prepare for this event? Now, when we put the gait belt on, what are we doing? It's an A word. When we turn them, you guys learn this in nursing process. We want to assess how strong the client is. How much are they able to help us? Now, if the client is not able to help us very much, what are we going to do?
Ask for a second person.
We want to ask for a second person. Now, what if they're not strong enough for a second person?
Get
The Hoyer lift. But how is that going to ambulate the client?
Oh wait, at that point it won't.
At that point, it won't. So what do we need to do for the client?
Try to lay him back down.
Range of motion.
We need to get the client to do conditioning exercises. Build up their muscle mass again, so that way we can go ahead and ambulate them. So things like isometric exercises. Isometric exercises are when you're sitting there and you tense your thighs up, then relax. Tense your thighs up and relax. I see a couple people doing it with me. Tense your thighs up and then relax. Those are isometric. They can do that in bed. They can put like little trapezes where the clients can help pull themselves up. So they can pull up while trying to sit up. So assisting in strengthening their ab muscles. Practicing sitting at the side of the bed. We take sitting for granted. But if you guys ever known anybody who has been in the hospital, it only takes 3 days to atrophy your muscles. So someone who has sat in a hospital bed for a month, they're weak. So you may sit them up at the side of the bed the first time, and they go wobbly, and then they tip over to the side. True story, I've seen it many times, even after 2 weeks, a week, depending on how strong the person was beforehand. They can atrophy their muscles very, very quickly.
3 days, you said?
I'm sorry?
3 days. I think it's just 3 days.
Only 3 days. That's why typically like bodybuilders, they will create a routine where they're hitting their muscle groups every 3 days. So they can build up and their muscle doesn't have a chance to get weaker. So they're constantly building, 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 building. Let's see. What are some precautions for the psych tech to take when a client who has been in bed for several days is going to take a shower? So we need, as psych techs, need to be very careful of when, you know how we got up to the side of the bed and we sat for dizziness to go away. We need to be careful when they go into the shower to watch them for dizziness or potential falls.
What page was that?
That was number 104. Now number 105, that one looks like hygiene, but yeah, that one's hygiene, so we'll skip that one. 106, the psych tech is assisting a client to ambulate when the client reports feeling faint and dizzy. What is the correct action for the psych tech to take?
We should wait.
Well, we can't wait. They're already walking in the hallway.
Oh, there we go.
Too late at that point.
Down gently and assess.
Let's see. So help the client, if you can, get to the wall. You can help ease them down to the ground. So this is they're getting dizzy before they're about to fall. So we can help ease them to the wall and bend over. And if that does not help, then we'll ease them all the way to the ground for a rest. Now, if they're very fatigued because they've just worked out harder than they've worked out in the past month, then we might need to have a couple staff members help the client up off the ground onto a wheelchair. But we definitely want to help ease them down before they fall. Now, 107, the psych tech recognizes that meeting safety needs is important to the long-term rehabilitation of a client recovering from a cardiovascular accident, also known as a stroke. What are some nursing actions or interventions that are best to take when assisting the client to ambulate? So a lot of the times when patients experience a stroke, if the stroke is on the left side of the brain, the right side of the body will be weak. If the stroke was on the right side of the brain, the left side of the body will be weak. So what are some things we do to help a client walk after a stroke? We can give them a cane. Now, if we give them a cane, do we teach them to use the cane on the strong side or the weak side? Strong side. Now, what if we're helping them? We're not a cane.
We should be on their weak side?
We go on their weak side. Very good. So just remember, cane on the strong side, staff on the weak side. All right, last but not least for today, a coherent client. Coherent means they're with it, they understand. A coherent client complains of the side rails being in the up position and has tried to crawl over the rails. What is the best approach to take? You think restraints on a coherent person, they're probably going to get pissed.
Put him back, like help him back where he's supposed to be.
So he's already in bed. We do want to get him back to bed. But what are we going to do with the side rails? Are we going to keep them up? The patient is coherent. They understand what's going on. They know what's going on. So imagine you laying in bed and you're like, crap, I gotta go pee. Let me get out of this bed. Let me climb over the side rails. So we would want to put the side rails down, because if they climb over the side rail and fall out of the bed, now that's a further fall. If the side rail is already down, yeah, if they roll over and fall off of the bed, it's not as far as a fall. They understand what's going on. They're not confused. They're not anything like that. But if your facility has the fall mats, you would want to lay down a fall mat.
Now we would have one down, but the other one would still remain up, and we would do that patient teaching. We would educate them about why we have them, why we would want them up for their safety, and so that way we're covering ourselves too.
Have one up and the other one down.
Yeah, so just like when we were putting on the gait belt, when we had them roll and we stuffed the belt underneath, before we left that side, we put the rail up, then walked over to the other side and put the rail down to finish up the gait belt. So you're always gonna have one side up. Does anyone here sleep on a twin mattress? Currently? Okay.
Nope.
So I don't sleep on a twin mattress very often. Do you toss and turn in your sleep?
A lot.
How many times have you fallen off that bed?
Not a lot, I mean,
Is it up against the wall?
yeah.
That's your one side rail.
Yeah.
Imagine if that bed was in the middle of the room. You'd fall off. So I went on a cruise in November and I shared the room with my little niece. And of course, with the cruises, they give you 2 twins or they shove them together and have 1 king. So of course I'm like, okay, the kid wants her own bed, fine. 2 twins. I thrash in my sleep. Thrash. I almost fell off the bed several times. I said, absolutely not. We're shoving these beds together. I can't do this. We need to have the 2 beds. Now I went on a cruise just before we started this semester, and it was me and a friend. Now I can't really say, hey friend, let's shove the beds together. So what did I do? I shoved my bed against the wall. There's my side rail. So I felt like I could toss and turn over towards the wall and I was okay. If I tossed and turned the other way, I'm on the floor. So you need that side rail for a very narrow bed. Yes.
When I went to CCU, in the dorms, you had 2 twins, and they were like bunks, and like you had your desk underneath your bunk, and so everyone was like elevated. Like ours were as high as like the top of the whiteboard, and then one morning I just woke up to like and my homie was just on the floor. He's like, I was like, are you good? He said, no.
No, he's not good. He needed side rails. I know the one is against the wall, but when they're up high, I know they're for children, for kids, but you know, twin beds are hard. Side rails up, at least 1. If the patient is insisting on getting out of the bed, 1 side rail down is okay, so they have an exit out of the bed. You will be surprised at how many patients ask for you to put the side rails up. It's a lot.
It's actually kind of comforting when you're in a twin bed.
Yes.
You know you can't fall out.
All right, so we have one more chapter, question number 144. Okay, 144, which of the following positions is best to place an unconscious patient into? Now that's for if they have a seizure.
Last fight?
Okay, so they would either be lying on their back or to the side. Now you're also going to find with wound care, when we go through wound care, we turn our patients every 2 hours. So if you have an unconscious patient, we are going to turn them every 2 hours to save their skin. But keep in mind when you guys are watching TV, you guys turn yourselves every 2 hours. You just may not realize it, but when you guys binge watch the new, I don't know, Stranger Things already happened, but those chicks on September 14th, when the new season of Handmaid's Tale comes out, you guys are gonna be laying in your bed, and you're gonna be like, oh, this hurts, turn. Oh, this hurts, turn. Oh, this hurts, back on the back. You guys unconsciously reposition yourselves every 2 hours. So sometimes even more, if you're just an uncomfortable kind of person. So whenever I was sitting there binge watching TV with my sister, when I would turn, I'm like, turn Q2. I would actually say it out loud, and she's like, oh my gosh. So what it does is just relieves pressure. So when you have an unconscious patient, they can't turn themselves. So you turn them. They'll be on their side. 2 hours later, they'll be on the other side. 2 hours later, they'll be on their back. Now, when they're on their back, in case they do vomit, you do want to turn the head to the side so the vomit has a way out. What happens if their head is straight back, straight forward, is it can go into the mouth and they can accidentally breathe it in. That word is called aspiration, and you're going to hear it over and over and over and over again. Aspiration. So, best position for an unconscious patient, either on the back or side lying.
So like they have to have their head to the side just in case?
You do want to turn the head to the side because you don't know what's going on with their stomach, whether or not they're going to throw up or not. Okay, so if you guys did not get an ID card, please see Maria. Us two, I don't know about you, we're gonna see you on Tuesday? Tuesday, not Monday? Kim's lecture? Okay. So we'll see you on Tuesday. Now on.
Don't get asleep, I have something for you guys before you leave.
On Tuesday, this is, I believe, injections, right? So injections day. So, we don't need too much stuff. Do study injections. You guys, behind the nursing comp, it's another blue page right here. Basic injection skills. Please, please, please review this. Just go through it and get familiar with some of the questions we're going to be asking you guys. Now, I'm going to give you guys a slight hint on this one. A slight hint, just take a peek at page 14. So you have this basic injection. Take a peek at page 14, and this might help your day become a little bit smoother. Okay? So on the injection after the nursing comp, again, page 14. So review through that and be familiar with the content. If you know the anatomy of the needle, you're gonna know how to keep things sterile. We are going to emphasize sterile technique. That's the biggest thing. We're going to emphasize safety. Those are the two biggest things when it comes to needles. So we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Michelle has her stuff. Don't run off.
Sticking with the injections, we are going to release the videos for the injections. We want you guys to watch them before Monday. Because when Miss Kim gets ready to go through them on Monday, you guys should be familiar with what the injections are, how they're done, sub-Q, intradermal, muscular, all that stuff. Okay? I am, and yes.
Not sub-Q yet.
Sorry, yeah.
Sub-Q's on the breakfast.
Okay, sub-Q's breakfast day? Okay. I think she was releasing all of them though.
Oh, that's fine.
I think. But just review those videos to make sure that you guys are familiar with what we're going to be talking about. What Ms. Kim's going to talk about on Monday, and then what we're going to do with Clinical Skills Lab on Tuesday and Thursday. All right?
I have some more stuff to add on more videos. So.
Okay. So just look out for the videos, you guys.
Now, more than likely, the videos will probably be released like Monday after your test. So please focus on your exam this weekend, and then focus on your injections on Monday night. Sound like a plan?
Yes.